Welcome from the Warsaw Security Forum. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska and you're watching TVP World. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome my next guest, Leila Benali, Minister of Energy Transition and Sustainable Development, expert in energy strategy, security and sustainability from Morocco. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much, Klaudia, for the invitation.
So as we speak about energy in the context of what's happening currently in Europe and in the world, when you think about energy, do you think about the subject as something more positive or something more negative? What's your approach?
Well, it's important to realize that if there's no energy, there's no development, there's no construction, there's nothing. So it's very important to continue to look at energy as a positive. And the way it has been used in the last century is that it has been used as a weapon in general. And now I'm glad to see that on the 21st century, because of technological changes, because of strategy changes of many countries, and we can dive into that into more details, energy is now being viewed more and more as a conduit for development and a positive, and not being used as a weapon once you've scratched the surface beyond the headlines.
Although considering the situation on the European continent and the ongoing war in Ukraine with Russia, it seems to be that energy is somewhat weaponized, because we've seen after the full-scale invasion in 2022 that energy was actually used as one of the tools in the conflict. When you look at Europe from the outside in, do you think that Europe in terms of energy security and reliance on the outside resources, does Europe have a problem when it comes to energy? Is it looking for new solutions? How is the green energy working in the context of this whole landscape?
Well, I think it's interesting to see how our relationship, Morocco's relationship with Europe, has evolved over the last few years. And it's interesting, Klaudia, that you mentioned the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine war, because at the time, 1 month after the war, the beginning of the war, I was in Berlin trying to push for a new economy called green hydrogen, and trying to ensure that we build stable partnerships with our European partners between Morocco and Europe, because Morocco is the only African country today interconnected with Europe, gas-wise, electricity-wise, but more importantly, bidirectionally. So it's very important today to ensure that we nurture this possibility to hedge our energy strategy, including the security part of the energy strategy. So at the time in 2022, Morocco had its own little gas crisis because Algeria cut the gas to Spain 4 months before the Russia-Ukraine war, and we were able, with our partners in Europe, particularly Spain, Portugal and France, to reverse a pipeline between the Iberian island and Morocco and get access to the international LNG market, and that enables the possibility to hedge again your bets against the future and ensure that energy sustainability is also enabling you to bring in security to your system. Second example that I wanted to mention is when Spain had a major blackout back in June of this year, and Morocco stood up as a neighboring country to help our friends in Spain to go through that. And it's also raised awareness of the importance to protect our electricity networks and actually increase our connectivity rather than decrease between Morocco, Spain, Portugal, France, and we also having our African partners. We're also working on increasing our connectivity with Mauritania and so on.
Do you think that this particular geopolitical situation that is currently taking place is going to open up European countries to energy options from the outside and actually creating new connections, creating new cooperations in the field of sustainable energy, especially?
Yeah, I think I like to think that people learn lessons from history, and I think the beautiful project of the European Union started with a coalition around steel and cement. So it's very important today that we rebuild a coalition around energy and connectivity in the energy sector. So I'm very much happy to see that sometimes I have partners in the European Union who are outside of the European Union who want to actually build those bridges. As I usually say, it takes two to tango. So to build a cable or to build a pipeline or to increase connectivity between two markets, you need to have that stable vision. We have that in Morocco thanks to the enlightened leadership of His Majesty the King, and he enables us to have that long-term vision. Our energy strategy in Morocco has not changed since 2009. It's been very stable. First key pillar is renewable energy, second key pillar is energy efficiency, third key pillar is energy connectivity and connectivity with our neighboring markets. And natural gas played a central role in that to enable a lot of things happening in that triangle. So all this to say that we need that stability, and I'm really hoping that, and I see that with some of our partners in Europe, that they want now to look into the long term and get away from the turbulence that we are seeing today, to say it's a capital intensive industry where you have huge technology changes, large countries pumping a lot of research and development money into batteries, storage, renewable energy, new technologies, digital in protecting networks. So all that is actually totally changing the face of the energy markets, and I think we'll need those stable partnerships in the medium and long term to make that happen.
Since we're at the Warsaw Security Forum, I obviously have to tie back to the situation which is currently taking place on the continent in relation to the war in Ukraine. So over the past few months, considering growing tensions, we know that European countries, many of them belonging to the NATO alliance, are considering actually increasing their military production within their own countries. Do you think that Europe, having that at the back of our minds, is going to actually try and use clean energy in order to boost that production? Or perhaps European countries will have to go back to using crude in order to be able to really boost that production? What's your opinion?
I think first, it's not my place to comment on other countries or other groupings of countries' strategies, be it military, security or energy, because I would not want them to comment or comment positively or negatively Morocco's sovereign security and energy strategy. But all one
Perspective of an expert.
I think from a perspective of a market maker, because what we are doing today is on both sides of the Mediterranean, on both sides of the Atlantic. When I think about the NATO alliance, we want to ensure that our populations have access to low-cost energy, affordable and secure energy. That will buy you and sustainable one, absolutely. And for us, as far as we're concerned, the most secure and low-cost source of energy that we can find is the most sustainable one, which is renewable, because we are blessed with good wind and solar potential. We have some of the best capacity factors in the world. The one thing that is missing is those stable partnerships that I was talking about, to be able, and that's something that I've been pushing for over the last few years, to say that let's get beyond the turbulence. Let's ensure that we give to our populations this ability to get access to an international or regional clean energy market. And from that perspective, it will enable the population to be more secure in how it apprehends the energy sector. And I think today we are in a situation where we have all the ingredients. I think it's a historic opportunity for Europe, and some of our partners in the European Union really believe in that. There's a historic opportunity to really change the face of the European energy market, including building more and more connectivity with North Africa, including Morocco. And I think some heads of states are very much, and I don't want to mention names, but some heads of states in Europe are very much deeply ingrained in their conviction. We signed a major strategic partnership with President Macron during his historic visit to Morocco at the end of October 2024, and a large part of our energy strategic partnership was related to energy connectivity, because there is an ingrained now conviction that we cannot deal with energy security without increasing our connectivity and ensuring that we rely on each other, but there's a mutual dependence and healthy mutual dependence between each other.
Very shortly, unfortunately, our time is coming to an end, so I just wanted to ask your opinion. What do you think is the biggest challenge for that cooperation, for example, between Europe and Morocco in the future when it comes to connectivity and sustainable energy?
The biggest challenge for that, I think it will be, as I mentioned, the issue with the energy sector is you need to think beyond the 2 to 3 years mandate, and usually we all have democracies, we all have elections, and we need to think beyond our electoral mandate and have this long-term vision to enable us to build grids together, to build interconnections together, and to build to enable us to build bankable projects. And those bankable projects need long-term offtake agreements, and those long-term offtake agreements will need security in confidence between partners. So all this to say that at the end of the day, I think the key challenge is to overcome short-termism and overcome attentism, because when we build, we need to ensure that we stop actually pushing the ball to the next government or pushing the ball to the next commissioner.
Putting the responsibility on somebody else.
We need to be very, very critical and very short-term and very impactful in how we build those partnerships. So today, what we are working on is on bankable projects on which we can rely on our partners, and where our partners can rely on ourselves, with a major part on cooperation related to research and development, because these technologies are changing really fast, whether we like it or not.
Thank you very much. Leila Benali, Minister of Energy Transition and Sustainable Development, expert in energy strategies, was my guest. Thank you very much for joining me. And thank you all. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, and please stay tuned here on TVP World for more.